In the next 17 minutes, you are going to do something most high performers never do. You are going to interrupt your own brain. Not with a motivational quote, not with a mindset shift, with a 4-minute physiological sequence rooted in Stanford neuroscience that breaks the exact biological circuit that is keeping you skilled, busy, and completely silently stuck. I've watched this work in my own life, in the lives of thousands of people in this community. And if you have ever felt like you're working harder than ever, but growing less than you used to, what I'm about to show you is the exact reason why, and more importantly, the exact way out. Let me ask you something first. When was the last time you were genuinely bad at something? Not learning curve bad, not new software give it a week bad. I mean truly, embarrassingly, humiliatingly incompetent. The way you were the first week you ever started your career, when everything was new and nothing was certain. Because here's what I keep seeing in the comments week after week after week. People writing things like, Dr. Kincaid, I used to grow so fast. Now I feel completely stuck and I have no idea why. I'm putting in more hours than ever. Nothing is moving. I read every one of those, and that feeling has a name. It is called the Competence Trap, and it is the most sophisticated career killer I have ever studied because it does not attack you when you are weak. It attacks you exactly when you are strong, when you're good, when the world is telling you that you have finally arrived. Here's what we're doing today. In part 3, I'm going to give you a live, real-time physiological reset that you can do right here, right now. And most people finish it and say it is the most concrete thing they have done for their own growth in years. Stay for that. And in part 4, I will give you a week-by-week blueprint built specifically for 2026 that maps exactly how to learn the skill you have been most afraid of, using AI as your partner instead of your competition. Stay for that too. But first, take one breath with me. We take the breath so we can grow the life. That is the foundation of everything we build here. Not just thinking about growth, actually doing it in real time, right now. Let us go. The mastery paradox. Why being excellent at your job is the primary reason you have stopped evolving. I want you to picture a hammer. A hammer is extraordinary at driving nails, precise, efficient, completely reliable. No other tool comes close. But hand that hammer a screw, and this masterpiece of engineering becomes completely useless. Not because the hammer is defective, because it is too specialized. You are the hammer. And I say that with the deepest respect, because reaching hammer-level mastery takes years of exhausting, deliberate work. But here's what the neuroscience is telling us right now, and this is the part almost nobody is talking about in 2026. Your brain has a feature, not a flaw, a feature that is working against you right now. And by the end of this section, you will understand exactly why your most successful years may have set the ceiling on your next ones. Your brain is a pattern completion engine. Every time you perform a task you already know well, it lights up the same predictable neural corridors, same roads, same intersections, same destination every single time. Dopamine floods in. You feel competent, even satisfied, and your brain signals, yes, more of exactly this. Neuroscientist Dr. Michael Merzenich spent decades studying cortical plasticity, the brain's capacity to reorganize itself, and his research establishes one thing with devastating clarity. The brain stops reorganizing when it stops being genuinely challenged. When you already know the answer, the brain is not learning, it is confirming. And confirmation feels good. Confirmation feels like wisdom. Confirmation feels like competence. But confirmation practiced at scale is stagnation dressed in a three-piece suit. This is the mastery paradox. The more competent you become, the less your brain is biologically required to form new neural connections. The very skills that earned you your position now run entirely on autopilot. And autopilot has no destination beyond the one it already knows. Sit with that for a moment, because it means the growth didn't stop despite your effort. It stopped because of your expertise. And here's what that cost you.
Every week you remain inside the competence trap is a week of compound growth you will never recover. In 5 years, the professional who spent those years learning at the edge of their discomfort will not just be ahead of you, they will be in a category you could no longer see from where you are standing. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to be honest with you, because in 2026, this matters more than it ever has. The professional landscape is no longer rewarding depth of specialization the way it used to. AI is absorbing the routine execution of specialized knowledge at a pace that is genuinely staggering. What remains, what no algorithm can replicate, is the ability to learn in real time, to pivot, to be comfortable in the beginner space. And your brain, rewarded for years on the currency of competence, has developed a deep allergy to that space. What you just unlocked is why expertise, not laziness, creates the ceiling. The mastery paradox and the brain's pattern confirmation system. Coming next, the specific neurochemical circuit that keeps your ego locked in place and why motivation alone can never break it. The physiological grip. The neurochemical circuit that locks you exactly where you are. I need to tell you something I have never said publicly before. 3 years into running this channel, when the audience was growing, when the feedback was positive, when by every external measure things were working, I stopped learning. Not deliberately, not consciously. I just stopped. I kept producing, I kept performing, but every time something new appeared at the edge of my expertise, a new framework, a new format, a challenge from someone with a different perspective, I felt a very specific, very quiet resistance. I told myself it was discernment. I told myself I was filtering for quality. It wasn't discernment. It was the competence trap in me, dressed up as standards. And the reason I'm telling you that, the reason it matters, is that what eventually got me out of it wasn't a mindset shift. It wasn't a book or a retreat or a conversation with a mentor. It was understanding what was happening in my body at the physiological level every time my competence was challenged. When your competence is challenged, when someone suggests a better approach, when a younger colleague presents an idea that contradicts your established method, or when AI does in 3 seconds what once took you 3 hours, your body does something very specific. Cortisol spikes. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. It serves an extraordinary evolutionary purpose, preparing you to fight or flee genuine physical danger. The problem is that your nervous system can't distinguish between a tiger and a junior employee saying, maybe we should try this differently.
Your body treats both as existential threats. Stop. Read that again. Your body treats a professional challenge the same way it treats a threat to your physical survival. The moment cortisol spikes in a professional context, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, partially shuts down your prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, the part that evaluates new information, the part that considers possibilities, the part that learns. So here is the cruel irony you must understand completely. The moment you most need to be open to new information is the exact biological moment your nervous system is engineered to shut that openness down. The ego steps in. It protects its investment. It has spent years building this identity, the identity of being the person who knows things, and it will use every tool at its disposal, rationalization, dismissal, quiet contempt, subtle redirection, to defend that identity from the threat of being wrong, of being new, of being a beginner again. You have felt this. I know you have. That moment when someone gives you feedback, and instead of genuinely receiving it, your brain begins immediately drafting the counter-argument, that is the ego sealing its armor. That moment when you look at a new tool, AI, a new framework, a new methodology, and feel a low-grade irritation where curiosity should be. That is the ego using your expertise as a weapon against your own evolution. Dr. Carol Dweck's research on mindset gives us the vocabulary for this. The fixed mindset, manufactured directly from competence, becomes the primary obstacle to the growth mindset you actually need. But here is what Dweck's work does not give us, what the past decade of somatic neuroscience does. You cannot think your way out of this. The cortisol spike, the amygdala activation, and the prefrontal shutdown, these are not cognitive events. They are physiological events, which means the solution must also be physiological. You are not someone who is stuck. You are someone whose nervous system has not yet received the correct interrupt signal. That changes right now. We're done diagnosing. It is time to do the thing. Let us get into the reset. What you just unlocked, the cortisol amygdala prefrontal shutdown cycle. Why willpower and motivation fail against a physiological response. Coming next, the live 4-minute protocol to interrupt the circuit at the body level right now. Do not skip this part. The 4-minute ego reset protocol. A breathwork and somatic sequence. Do this with me right now. Clear your space for the next 4 minutes. Not metaphorically, physically. Sit up. Uncross your legs, both feet flat. This is the payoff I promised you at the start, the live protocol, and I want you to actually do it, not just listen to it, because the listening and the doing produce completely different results in your brain. The science on this is unambiguous. The sequence comes from 2 converging bodies of research, cyclic sighing studies from Stanford's Neuroscience labs and somatic regulation work from Dr. Peter Levine's somatic experiencing framework. Together, they form what I call the ego reset protocol. 4 minutes, 4 steps. Let us go. Minute 1, the physiological sigh, cortisol interrupt. Take a full, deep breath through your nose. Fill your lungs completely. Then, without exhaling, take a second sharp inhale. Top your lungs all the way off. Now, release everything slowly through your mouth. Make the exhale twice the length of the inhale. Twice, as long as you can. Do this 4 times. The science. The double inhale reinflates the alveoli, small air sacs in your lungs that collapse under stress-driven breathing. This single pattern has been clinically shown to reduce physiological stress faster than any other breathing intervention tested. Dr. Andrea Huberman's Stanford lab published specifically on this. The physiological sigh produces measurable cortisol reduction in under 60 seconds. 4 rounds. Do them now. Good. That is your nervous system already beginning to shift. Minute 2, the somatic grounding scan. Gently roll both shoulders back. Feel both feet pressing into the floor. Place your palms flat on your thighs or a nearby surface, any flat surface. Now, scan your body from the crown of your head slowly all the way down to your feet. Not analyzing, not fixing, just noticing. Where are you holding tightness without realizing it? Where are your muscles guarding? Breathe into those places, not to change them, just to acknowledge them. This activates the ventral vagal branch of your nervous system, what Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory identifies as the physiological foundation of safety, social engagement, and openness. When the ventral vagal branch is active, you are neurologically capable of learning. When cortisol suppresses it, which is where most high performers spend most of their professional lives, learning is physically, biologically impossible. Not difficult, impossible. That's not a metaphor. That's anatomy. Minute 3, the ego disarmament statement. This step will be uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Say these 3 words out loud if you're alone, silently if you're not. I don't know. That's it. 3 words. Because what the ego fears most is not failure. It's the open, voluntary admission of uncertainty. That admission in a safe, intentional context is what begins to dissolve the armor. Research from the University of Waterloo on intellectual humility shows that professionals who regularly acknowledge the edges of their knowledge not only learn new material faster, they also adapt to disruption more effectively and are rated as stronger leaders by their teams. You're not confessing incompetence, you're practicing the cognitive posture of someone who is still growing. Minute 4, the one brave question. Your prefrontal cortex is warming back up. Use this window. Use it right now. Ask yourself one question, one uncomfortable, specific, honest question. What is the one thing I've been avoiding learning because I'm afraid of being bad at it? Write it down, physically, on paper or on your screen. Do not let your mind argue you out of it. That answer, that specific, slightly uncomfortable answer, is not a weakness, it's a map. You just did something that most people will never do. You interrupted a neurological circuit that was designed by evolution to protect itself from exactly what you just did. You took a breath when everything in your biology said, "Keep going, you already know this, stay where it's safe." And you grew the life anyway. That's what this channel is built for. What you just unlocked. The cortisol amygdala prefrontal shutdown cycle. Why willpower and motivation fail against a physiological response. Coming next, the live 4-minute protocol to interrupt the circuit at the body level right now. Before we go to part 4, if this protocol just shifted something for you, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells YouTube that this kind of content is worth putting in front of people who need it. I appreciate it more than you know. Now, part 4. This is the blueprint I promised you at the start. Rewiring for the growth state. The 3-layer integration model for 2026. This is the moment I told you about in the intro, the week-by-week blueprint. And I want to give it to you with full context, because the protocol we just did was not a standalone technique. It was preparation. It opened the window. Here is what the neuroscience tells us about the minutes immediately following the physiological sigh and somatic reset. Cortisol is measurably lower, your prefrontal cortex is more active than it was 4 minutes ago, and your brain is neurologically more receptive to new learning than at almost any other natural point in your day. This window is exactly when you want to introduce the new skill you wrote down. Which brings me to the uncomfortable truth about 2026. The skill you wrote down is almost certainly adjacent to AI-augmented work, and the reason you have been avoiding it is not laziness. It is because learning it means being publicly, visibly, undeniably bad at something in a professional environment that has spent years rewarding you for being visibly, undeniably excellent. You are not resistant to learning. You are resistant to being seen, not knowing. The distinction matters enormously, because one is a character problem, the other is a positioning problem, and positioning problems have architectural solutions. This is the 3-layer integration model. Layer 1, observe without judgment, week 1. Do not attempt to use the new skill yet. Just watch someone who is fluent in it. A YouTube channel, a colleague, a structured course. Your only job this week is to see what good looks like without the ego filtering it through the lens of comparison or threat. The goal of week 1 is not learning, it is tolerance. You are teaching your nervous system that contact with this new thing does not equal danger. Layer 2, deliberate incompetence, weeks 2 through 3. Schedule 30 minutes per day where you are explicitly, intentionally allowed to be bad. No output standard, no performance pressure, just contact with the material. This is neurological conditioning. You are training the cortisol response to remain quiet when the new skill appears. Each 30-minute session is not practice, it is rewiring. Do this consistently for 2 weeks and something starts to shift. The new thing stops feeling threatening. It starts feeling like something you are becoming. Layer 3, AI-assisted acceleration, week 4 onward. Here is where 2026 becomes genuinely extraordinary. You now have a learning partner, AI, that has zero judgment, infinite patience, and the specific ability to meet you exactly where your current understanding ends and walk forward from there at your exact pace. Not faster, not slower, yours. The professionals who will define the next decade are not the ones who know the most. They're the ones who can use AI as a cognitive scaffold to learn the fastest. And you, right now, in this post-reset window, with your prefrontal cortex fully online, are ready to be exactly that kind of professional. Your expertise is not your enemy. Your attachment to your expertise is, and today you began to release it. What you just unlocked, the 3-layer integration model, a concrete weekly framework to go from avoidance to AI-accelerated fluency in the skill you've been putting off. Coming next, how to build the habit that keeps the ego from calcifying again, and the one community action that research shows will double your follow-through. Sustaining the beginner mindset, the weekly architecture that prevents the ego from calcifying again. Here is the one thing I want you to understand about everything we did today. The competence trap does not get solved once. The ego is not a problem you eliminate, it is a system you learn to manage with consistent architecture. Left alone for too long, even the most fluid professional mind calcifies. The comfortable neural corridors always beckon. The known always feels safer than the new. This is not weakness, this is how brains work. Which means the work is ongoing, and the architecture needs to be simple enough to actually sustain. The weekly incompetence window. Every Monday, name one thing you will be deliberately bad at this week. Keep it small. A new tool, a different approach to a familiar problem, a 15-minute conversation with someone who does what you do not. In Zen Buddhism, this practice has a name, Shoshin, the beginner's mind. Shunryu Suzuki wrote, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." The weekly incompetence window is the modern, science-backed version of that ancient wisdom, and it requires no additional time, only a different intention with time you already have. Measure rate of learning, not quality of output. Right now, you are measuring yourself by what you produce. Stop. Shift this metric entirely. Ask instead, how fast is my understanding currently growing? Are you grasping things in week 4 of a new skill that would have been incomprehensible in week 1? That rate, that acceleration of understanding, is the actual indicator of professional health in 2026. It is more predictive of where you will be in 5 years than any specific deliverable you produce today. Output is what you have done. Rate of learning is what you are becoming. The community accountability commitment. Here is your action step. Take it seriously. Go to the comments right now and complete this sentence. The skill I have been avoiding is blank, and this week I am giving it 30 minutes. Do not wait until after you have done it. Commit now, publicly. Dr. Peter Gollwitzer's research at NYU on implementation intentions is unambiguous. A specific public commitment to a behavior in a specific context dramatically increases the probability of follow-through, more than private intention, more than general motivation. The comment section of this video is not optional. It is the final step of the protocol. Because here's what happens when this community shows up together. You see yourself in each other's answers. You see the high performer across the world who appears to have it completely figured out, writing the same answer you almost didn't write. And that recognition, that shared, honest vulnerability, is the most powerful growth accelerant I have ever encountered. It always has been. What you just unlocked, the complete picture, the mastery paradox, the cortisol circuit, the 4-minute ego reset protocol, the 3-layer integration model, the weekly incompetence window. This is a complete system. Use it. You came in today carrying something that most people never name, the quiet weight of being good, but no longer growing. And I hope what you're leaving with is not just a protocol, it is a reframe. The competence trap is not a character flaw. It is not laziness or complacency or a lack of drive. It is your biology doing precisely what it was designed to do, keeping you safe inside the known, protecting you from the discomfort of not knowing. But you now have the architecture to override it. 4 minutes, a specific reset, an honest question, one brave public commitment, and every single time you take that breath, every time you let yourself be genuinely, openly bad at something new, you are not surrendering the expertise you spent years building. You are layering adaptability on top of it, an adaptability that no shift in technology, no organizational disruption, no change in the market can strip from you. We take the breath so we can grow the life. That is what we do here. That is the only thing we do here. If this resonated, if it names something real for you, the next video I want you to watch is on why most people who escape the competence trap fall directly into what I call the learning spiral, the equally dangerous pattern of acquiring knowledge without ever converting it to results. That video will complete the picture. It is linked right here. Watch it next. And if you want more frameworks like this, science-backed, practically structured, built for the professionals who genuinely refuse to stop evolving, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, one idea, clear enough to use immediately. That is the commitment. Send this video to one person who is standing at the ceiling of their own competence, not because they need motivation, because they need this protocol. I will see you in the next one.